Our chapter number 8 is about marketing research, and what we're going to discuss here is the definition of marketing research, what we mean by marketing research. Then we're going to discuss why good marketing research is difficult, and then the 5-step marketing research approach to make better decisions. So starting off with what is marketing research? It's a process of defining a marketing problem and opportunity. So the first step that we conduct while we are conducting marketing research is, first of all, we need to define the marketing problem. So what do we mean by marketing problem? The management problem can be different than marketing research problem, which basically means that you can have a problem like the sales are going down. So that's a management problem. You need to convert that into a marketing research problem. That means you need to define the marketing problem and the opportunity, or the opportunity, for yourself in order to conduct the research. Then the second step is systematically collecting and analyzing information. So once you have defined your problem, next what you do is you collect information related to your problem in order to solve your problem. Once you have collected that, you analyze that information, and then based on your analysis, you recommend actions to the management. So that's what a marketing research is supposed to do. That's what it does. It's basically and remember that it's a process. It's a process, which means that you might have to you might define your problem, then you start working on it, and then you might have to come back and then revise what you have done. You might collect data, you might analyze the information, and then you might have to again collect some more data because you left out some of the questions that were important. So it's basically a process, the whole process. And then once you have recommended actions, you might want to again go for marketing research and collect data again, analyze information again, and then recommend actions accordingly. So it's a process of defining the marketing problem and opportunity, collecting and analyzing information, and recommending actions. So why good marketing research is difficult? It's difficult because of and especially for new products, because of the company not knowing about, if it's a new product, it's a complete new product that we are talking about. We're not talking about a new brand of a product, but we're talking about a completely new product. If it's a completely new product, then the company does not know about this product. The people do not know about this product. So how are you going to collect information about something that nobody really kind of knows about? So if you can think of, let's think about Alexa. A product like Alexa, when it wasn't in market, what would you ask the consumers if they don't know about this product, if they haven't had any experiences with this product? How would you collect information? How would you collect data for that product which nobody has ever seen, which nobody has ever had an experience with? So that's why good marketing research is difficult for new products. Second is understanding latent motives, and this can be for new products or for old products. It can be for any kind of marketing research. So latent motives are the motives, either the motives that are either unknown to the consumers, or they are known to the consumers, but they are reluctant to share it with us or admit these motives. So, for example, if we think about attitude, okay, we think about attitude towards a particular brand, then understanding those motives is very difficult, because understanding attitude towards a brand is very difficult because maybe the consumer doesn't know, maybe the consumer has never consciously thought about his or her attitude towards a particular brand. So if the consumer doesn't know, it's very difficult for the consumer to let us know what these latent motives are. Or maybe the consumer knows, but we cannot capture uh, their latent motives by asking the questions inappropriately. So it makes us it makes our job, our researcher job, very difficult, because these are the motives that the consumer probably doesn't even the consumer probably doesn't even know about. So that makes it difficult. Then the third reason is the actual versus intended behavior. So the intentions, and I always say this, the intentions are always, or rather I should say, can be different, may or may not be different than the actual behavior. So you might intend to do something, but at the end you may not do what you had intended to do. So your actual behavior can be different than your intended behavior. You may intend to go and have a cup of coffee right after this video is over, but at the end, when it's over, you might change your mind and you might not really have a cup of coffee. So your intended behavior and your actual behavior can be different. And when we ask questions to consumers using market research, we ask for intended behavior. We generally cannot capture the actual behavior. We ask for intentions. We ask, do you intend to buy this product or not? Or do you intend to go in and have this kind of food in this restaurant or not? So we ask for intentions, and these consumers tell us their intentions, but at the end, their actual behavior may be may be different than their intention. So that's again something that can create a difficulty for marketing researchers. Now, the next is five-step marketing research approach to make better decisions. And we're going to discuss these one by one. So we have from step 1 to step 5, define the problem, develop the research plan, collect relevant information, develop findings, and take marketing actions. We keep getting feedback to learn lessons for future research from each of these steps, and then we keep repeating all of these steps again and again. As I had said before, it's a process. Marketing research is a process, and that's why it's going on through all these steps, and on all of these steps you will see arrows coming back in, which is from the feedback that you have got from all of these steps individually. So starting with step 1, which is define the problem. Now, in order to set the problem, in order to define the problem, we need to set the research objectives. And there are 3 main types of marketing research that we should know about first, and only then can we know what our research objectives are. That is, what do we want to do? What are we planning to do out of this research? What are we planning to achieve from this research? So the first type of research that we're going to talk about is exploratory research. What is an exploratory research? It provides idea about a vague problem or question. So generally, the type of research you guys may have conducted for your assignments, even the one that we do for our marketing strategy analysis project, that is an exploratory research. Basically, we're trying to explore things. We're trying to collect more information about something that's vague in our mind, about something that we don't know about. So that's an exploratory research that you conduct for your assignments and your projects. In a similar way, when you're conducting a real marketing research, when there is a problem or a question or a management problem that we do not have much idea about, it's vague for us, we first try to conduct an exploratory research and try to understand what this problem is about. So for example, if you get a project, a research project for, let's say, virtual reality glasses, Okay, and they want to know, the client wants to know if the VR glasses are going to work or not, who are going to be our consumers, who are going to buy our product, what price should be set for our product, and so on. So if that's a research project that comes to you, or it comes to me, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, it's vague for me, it's a new idea for me. I'm going to try to do some exploratory research and try to find out more about virtual reality, try to find out more about who are the consumers in general, without, specifically going and searching for who the consumers are and what price they are ready to pay. I would first want to know about this technology myself, because I want to provide an idea to myself about this vague problem or question, according to me, because I don't know much about this, for example. So next type of research is descriptive research, that involves trying to find the frequency with which something occurs. So let's say, for example, we have a client who wants to open a new coffee shop in Jackson. Okay, and if they want to open a new coffee shop, they want to know how many people, or we want to know as researchers, how many people in Jackson are coffee drinkers. Okay, and how we want to know how many of those are males, how many of those are females, how many of those are others. Basically, we want to try to find uh, the frequency. We want to find numbers. We want to find how many people, how many potential customers can this coffee shop have, and how many of those customers are going to be males versus females versus others, so that we can offer them the we can create the offerings accordingly. So that's descriptive research, where it really describes the um, population, as we say, or it describes something, okay, depending on what the research is about. And the last type of research is causal research, which is the most difficult research to conduct, wherein we try to determine the extent to which the change in one factor changes another one. For example, in our coffee shop example, if we have a client that is a coffee shop, okay, we have a coffee uh, owner as our client, and they want to know if the change in price, if they reduce the price, is it going to increase their sales? Is it going to increase their number of customers that come in their store? So causal research is basically, as the name suggests, one causes another. That is, change in price causes the sales to go up. That's causal research, where we try to determine some kind of relationship between two factors. That is, we change one of the factors and we want to see another factor changing in. So that's causal research. It's time to do our activity number 7. What you're supposed to do here is you're supposed to write what kind of research should LEGO Group conduct in the following cases. So just read all of these cases one by one. You can pause the video here, read the cases one by one, and what you're supposed to write is that what type of research out of exploratory, descriptive, and causal research do you think that LEGO Group should conduct for each of these cases? So just write one by one, and you can just number these and write one should be whatever type of research you think they should conduct, 2 should be this, and 3 should be that, the other one. You don't have to write these sentences again in your answers. You can just write the answer, but just number them correctly, and you should be fine. So once you're done with that, please come back, play this again, and let's move forward. So our step number 2 in marketing research is developing the research plan. In order to develop the research plan, the first thing that we should do is specify constraints. And what do we mean by constraints? These are the restrictions placed on potential solutions to a problem. So we want to provide a solution to the coffee shop owner, in order to increase their sales, let's say, but we want to first know what are their constraints. So in order to make those decisions in their organization, what are the restrictions that are there on the solutions we might provide them. So if we say, oh, you should advertise more, so how much more? Should they spend $100,000 advertising? How much is too much for them? We need to find that out. And these constraints are generally in terms of time and money, and we need to find that first before we develop a plan for these guys. Next is identifying data needed for marketing actions. So we can develop the research plan, but to do that, we need to identify the what data do we need in order to conduct or in order to implement our marketing actions. For example, in the Lego activity that we just did, uh, they might want to know, group's marketers might want to know what are students' math skills, or what's the amount of time they spend on playing video games, let's say, for example. So what is the data that we need to collect, or that's needed in order to make some marketing decisions? And the third one is determine how to collect data. So do we collect data from students and we go to schools and collect data from students, or do we collect this data from teachers? Do we collect it from parents? How do we collect this data? How do we approach these people? Because again, we have a constraint of time and money. We also need to see that what's more feasible and practical for us to do. So we need to determine how to collect data. That's all of this comes in the research plan. We need to develop the research plan before we actually start collecting information or actually start conducting marketing research. We need to make a plan before doing that. Step number 3 is collect relevant information. So we need to collect data, as we call it. What is data? Is the facts and figures related to the problem, and this can be divided into two main parts: secondary data and primary data. So in marketing research, how do we provide solution to the problems? Is by collecting data, that is collecting information, facts and figures, as we can see here. So how do we collect this data? Is using secondary data or using primary data. So how do we collect this information? Is we can use secondary data, which are the facts and figures that have already been recorded before the project at hand. So if somebody else has already collected data for their study, we can use that, call it secondary data, use that for our project. So something that has already been collected. However, primary data are the facts and figures that are newly collected for the project. So this is the first-hand information that you are, as researchers, are going to collect firsthand for your own project. However, the secondary data that we talked about, you did not collect that data firsthand, but somebody else collected it for their own project, and now we can use that data for our study as well. So that's secondary data. Now this here shows on the left hand side, you can see data, that is facts and figures pertinent to the problem. Then is the secondary data, facts and figures already recorded prior to the project. And then we have primary data, facts and figures newly collected for the project. And we're going to discuss all of these one by one. So secondary data, the first one is internal data, which is inside the firm. And these can be inputs or outcomes. basically budgets, financial statements, sales call reports, actual sales, and customer communication. So whatever is internal to the organization, inside the firm, that those statements or any reports that you have, which have been already collected by somebody else, you can use them for your research, and this is going to be your secondary data. Next is external data, which is outside the firm, and that's also collected by somebody else. For example, we have the Census Bureau, the US Census Bureau. We have those reports available online. You can anytime go in there, take that information and use it for your own research. Then we have trade associations, for example, American Marketing Association is one, which publishes different papers, different articles. You can use information that they have collected for your own research, and that's going to be called secondary data. Or we can also use information from business periodicals like Bloomberg, Business Week, and so on. And this is going to be our secondary data. Now, what are the advantages and disadvantages of secondary data? Advantages are that it's time saving because somebody else has already done it, already collected the information. We can just use it as it is. It's time saving, of course. It's also inexpensive because, again, if it is free, of course, it's inexpensive because it's already there. You just go online, you just need an internet connection, you go online, and then you can just download this report. For example, the one that I have just taken from emarketer.com, which I use a lot, and this is the report that I have just collected from the research that they had conducted. So this counts as a secondary data for me. So this is inexpensive. However, I should say it here that if there is a specific report that is not available for free, it can be, secondary data can be very, very expensive. I have seen some colleagues of mine in the past who have spent thousands of dollars, $4,000, $5,000 to buy a report, a secondary report. And that is very expensive. But yes, if it is generally the data is free online, and if it is one of those things that you want, then it's really inexpensive. Now, the disadvantages of secondary data is it can be out of date. For example, the one that you see here is from 2019. That's the latest I could get in 2021. So it's a 2 years old report and it's kind of out of date right now. Definitions or categories not right. And I put this example in here, this report that you can see here, because this is what this gives us this example of an idea of how definitions or categories can be different for different people. For example, the guys who have conducted this research, you see in that graph, it says pay TV versus non-pay TV households in the US. And the red line is for pay TV households. The black line is for non-pay TV households. Now, when I was wanting to use this data, my definition of pay TV was completely different than their definition of pay TV. So if I read the note that you see at the bottom over there, it says pay TV households are households with a subscription to traditional pay TV services, includes cable, satellite, telco or fiber operators and multiple system operators, excludes IPTV and pure play online video services, example Hulu, Netflix, YouTube, etc. So this is not what I was looking for. According to me, this was not the pay TV definition. According to me, pay TV was completely different than what they had taken as paid TV. So eventually this report was of no use to me. So that's why we say definitions and category is not right, which is it may not match the definitions that we are trying to figure out. So that's a disadvantage, and it's not specific enough. So these secondary information that we collect are of course not specific enough, because if these were specific enough for our research problem, then we did not need to conduct any research. So if you already had a solution to the problem that you're trying to find, you're trying to conduct a research for, then you don't need to conduct the research in detail, or you don't need any primary data. You would just stop there. So these secondary data or secondary information that we get uh, cannot be specific to your situation, to your context. So for example, if the coffee shop example we take, bring back again, if a coffee shop owner wants to open up a new coffee store in a particular area, um, that specific information for that specific brand in that specific location, we will not be able to find it through secondary data. We'll have to conduct a primary data, that is collect first-hand information for that. Next is our primary data collection, that is facts and figures newly collected for the project. This is what we collect. That's the information we collect firsthand. So the first way of doing that is observational data, or watching people, as it says. And we have mechanical methods, personal methods, and neuromarketing methods to do that. And we're going to discuss them one by one. So observational data are the facts and figures obtained by watching, either mechanically or in person, how people actually behave. So we're really observing people in observational data. We really collect the facts and figures by observing people. Now, this observation can occur by watching, by actually watching people in person, or we can watch people mechanically, and we'll see how. So there are mechanical methods that we can use to watch people. For example, there's Nielsen's people meter. So a people meter is used by television, is generally used uh, for measuring the viewing habits of television, of consumers' viewing habits of television. And through people meter, we can basically capture which channels people are watching, or which TV program people are watching the most, and all of that stuff. So it's really a box that's attached to a TV, or cable box, or satellite dish, that basically captures what people are watching. You can, if you're interested, you can go on this website that's shown here, Nielsen.com, and you can search for top 10. You can just use that URL exactly like that, like it shows in here, and it's going to tell you the most the top 10 programs that are watched by people in the US. So that's a mechanical method to capture what people are doing, to observe what people are watching. Then you have personal methods, and in personal methods, number one that you can see here is mystery shopper. What's a mystery shopper? It's a person that's used generally by retail organizations, um, they give some money to a person, to this mystery shopper, and then they ask this person to go to their competition retail store, their competing retail store. So for example, let's say J.C. Penney will hire some mystery shopper, give them some money, and then say you have to go and shop at Macy's. The shopper will go to Macy's and just go as a normal customer, start shopping in there, but also start collecting information that JCPenney wants. For example, let's say that they want to see that how do their employees treat the customers, and they start collecting information about different stuff, and just pretend to be a normal customer. Now, this is one way of doing mystery shopping. The other way is that JCPenney can ask a customer again, giving them, a person pretending to be a customer, paying them some money, and JCPenney can say that you go to JCPenney store and then see how the employees treat you there. So you can do it that way. You can do it to see how you are doing with the customers, or you can use the mystery shoppers to see how the competitive, the competing firms or competing retail outlets are doing as far as the customers are concerned. Next is videotaping, which is, I don't think it needs any explanation. It's just that you tape on video what's going on and you're really watching people, and you can go and later on see the videos and see, observe, pause and go back and observe what each and every individual was doing it there. Then the third type is ethnographic research. Basically involves all the research that's conducted in different ethnicities or different cultures to understand different cultures. You go in there, you sit there and just observe what they are doing in their day-to-day lives. That's ethnographic research. Then we also have neuromarketing methods in which basically you observe responses to non-conscious stimuli. So in order to capture, remember we talked about how it's difficult to capture the latent motives. So in order to capture the things that even the consumer doesn't know about, it's unconscious stimuli, we want to capture those using neuromarketing methods. So sometimes we have those eye sensors that we put in on consumers and we capture, and this is generally done on online consumers, where you want to capture their eye movement and we want to see where they spent more time looking, which corner did they spend more time looking at, where did they just skip, and all of that, just observing that eye movement. Here in this picture we can see that they've put those things in there on this consumer, and they just want to capture what their brain, how their brain is moving, how of they're looking at, or how much time are they spending on one particular product, and what's going on in there. So these are some of the ways to capture the responses to non-conscious stimuli. Next, we're going to continue with questionnaire data in next topic, and we're going to stop here for now.